Shanghai, ostentatious house, tea on the lawn, rules at work, parents that exist until they don't. Sirens, soldiers, crowds, chasing the toy plane and letting go of mum. Childhood becomes a missing persons case. Jim's alone, the house is empty. Food is the only thing that matters. He adapts fast, trade everything, trust nothing. Adults fail. Then the camp, barbed wire, potatoes, routine as survival. And above it all, the planes. Perfect, untouchable. People fail, machines don't. So he cheers the sky, even when it's bombing him, because the sky is magical. No rescue, no hero moment, just adaptation. This is a war movie about growing up and shedding innocence. Empire of the Sun.
Hello, frequent flyers, and welcome to Amblin Through Cinema, the podcast dedicated to exploring the stories in film craft, defining the creative giants of the silver screen. Today, we are exploring the scrappiness and world weariness of Steven Spielberg's Empire of the Sun, released in 1987. I'm your host, Tyler Birch, and...
This is Crystal.
All right, so this week we're talking about the Empire of the Sun, a coming-of-age movie based during World War II of a British boy who lives with a silver spoon, having to adapt to a reality where he essentially has nothing. I think we're going to go ahead and kick off with the first impressions. So, Mom, why don't you go ahead and tell me a little bit about what you thought of this film?
Okay. So I'd never seen it before. First time I ever watched it was with you last week. At 13, this was not a movie I was itching to see.
Come on. It's war. It's planes.
It was released on Christmas Day.
Come on.
Yeah, it's it's Christmas movie time. This is not a Christmas movie.
But they hadn't even invented Die Hard yet. What did you even watch on Christmas?
Honestly, I don't remember, but still, because Christmas Vacation was 2 years away, I think.
Yeah, 89, yeah.
yeah.
Christmas Story, I guess, and It's a Wonderful Life, probably.
Oh, no. Anyway, The planes were amazing. John Malkovich's acting was phenomenal, I thought. He only did a couple other things before this.
This is when he still had hair.
That's true.
Yeah.
That was jarring, to say the least. Christian Bale, being 12 or 13 in his debut feature film, I thought he did amazing as a 13-year-old kid. Sadly, the story felt long. One of my favorite characters was the kid outside of the internment camp with the glider. He was shot, so, that was kind of sad. The ending was meh, and I understand the rationale why they ended it the way it did, but it wasn't satisfying for me. I don't have to have a happy ending, but that just seemed, I don't know. I needed more. I wanted to see Jim after all of that. How did he adapt to being a kid again, I guess? I don't know. Can you go back to being a kid again after all that?
No, probably not.
Yeah, so I don't know. What happened with his parents? So many unanswered questions. So what did you think?
I thought it was a very interesting film. It gave us a perspective that we don't normally see, being a movie about how the British are handling the World War II. Obviously, us being American, we only know it from our side. Also, raising the question, at least in my education of history,
Yes.
we never really talked about China or other countries. It's always the big countries that were related in World War II. So seeing this side of things, seeing China being invaded by Japan, seeing the decadence of the British society in China, being so sure that they were safe and is being torn down. I thought that was really interesting, obviously mirrored in Jim's journey. The characters, I think, were really well done. I think they did a really good job with them. Christian Bale, for his first time out, phenomenal job. Even though he annoyed me a lot of the times, I don't put that on him.
That's how teenage boys are.
Yeah, exactly. John Malkovich, like you said, did great. The doctor...
Dr. Rollins.
Dr. Rollins, is it Nigel Havers? Is that his
Yes.
name? He did a really good job. I love they were kind of that angel and devil on Jim's shoulders, which I thought was fun. Jim's interactions with the Japanese soldier on the other side of the fence, I thought was really, really well done too. Even the guy that ran the internment camp, I thought there was more complexity there than you would expect. So I think the characters were great. You're right, it was really long. It's a 2.5-hour movie.
Mm-hmm.
You feel it. Maybe because it's based on a book. I don't know what the book was like that J.G. Ballard wrote, but the structure of this movie, the identity of this movie, it felt like they had a hard time figuring out what that was. So the pacing felt really odd. It was hard to really identify what moments were pivotal moments.
That's true. We usually can find the turning point.
Yeah, you can feel that act 1, 2, and 3 structure. This time, it was hard to tell where this movie was really headed, and not even in, like, a mystery kinda way, just kind of a "what's going on" kinda way. Visuals, a lot of the visuals looked really good. I will say that it had the same cinematographer as E.T., and so it gave it kind of a strange, homey feeling when it shouldn't have, and this is still early Spielberg. This is a transition point for Spielberg. It felt odd because we were in this internment camp, we were in this very intense situation, but the way that they shot it, like, it was just still felt warm, and it was an odd
It was.
there was a dissonance that really
Yes.
that messed with me while I was watching it too. So, a lot of good in this movie, but there was also a lot of things I was mixed on, things that I wasn't hyped about. So, very interesting experience. It was a lot to wrap your mind around.
It really was.
And even though, like, this is Spielberg touching, getting more into the war genre that he's kinda started with 1941
Yes.
in the loosest of terms, but this is, the start of him getting into the war genre. This is going to give rise to things like Schindler's List, Saving Private Ryan, probably another war movie he did that I'm forgetting because he's done a lot of those.
Yes.
This is a big step for Spielberg into what I think a lot of people in, like, my age group, the Spielberg we grew up with is this Spielberg. We're born in the '90s, so we are past the point of we had our parents show us movies that were from before, E.T., family, all his family films, but, like, for us, what was being released at that time were things like Saving Private Ryan, The Terminal, Minority Report, like,
Mm,
things that are a little bit more adult than what you were getting when you were my age.
absolutely.
But it's interesting to see how we're starting to make that transition from the Spielberg that you know to the Spielberg that I know.
Two sides of the same coin.
So let's step out of the feelings for a moment and into the magic of film with Mr. DNA Explains. Hi, I'm Mr. DNA, your friendly cinematic helix. Let's break it down. In the mid 1980s, Steven Spielberg was famous for wonder, adventure, and happy endings. But critics said, great movies for kids. So Spielberg looked at World War II and said, what if the story isn't about heroes, but about a kid who survives? Enter Empire of the Sun, based on real childhood memories from J.G. Ballard, set in occupied China, and starring a child who doesn't get rescued, he adapts. This film is Spielberg growing up on screen. Less magic, more history, less cheer, more truth. And that's the science. When childhood is exposed to war, it adapts. And once you know that, you stop asking what happens next and start asking who survives it. So let's slow down and look at the people inside the story. Starting with the kid, everything bends around. All right, so we're going to kick it off with the characters. So obviously, we're going to talk about the biggest character in this movie, which is Jim slash Jamie
Slash James.
slash James slash Jimothy. I'm sure he's had many names. He's the linchpin of this movie, and without him, none of this works. That had to be properly conveyed by Christian Bale, and a very, very big role for him to step into from the very beginning. What did you think of Jim?
As we've said before, Christian Bale really knocked it out of the park. I think you can tell we're really impressed with his performance. Honestly, Jim was very annoying,
Mhm.
and he was a 13-year-old teenager, so
I-
and he talked about everything. I know you and I were like, "Shut up."
yeah, and he doesn't really lose that either.
No.
I was waiting the whole movie for him to stop, and it slowed down a bit as he got older and more mature, but, like, it didn't actually stop.
Okay, but look at the last scene when the parents finally come.
Yeah, he's lost
He didn't
his.
say anything,
Nope.
not one word.
Yeah, that was. I know you said in one of your notes, The Walking Dead. I thought that was so interesting because, yeah, the adults are like The Walking Dead in that movie, especially the Victors.
Mhm.
But then that's how Jim's story ends. He's become one of them, even though going to the internment camp and every experience that he's had, that didn't break him. Losing a friend, somebody that he connected with, not based off of language, not based off of culture, but because they both had the same fondness for planes. That is what actually broke him.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
That's when it broke me.
Yeah. And so I think that's when he became The Walking Dead, as opposed to everybody else's journey where they started out.
Yeah. You were talking about Dickens earlier with Jim?
Yes, Spielberg said that this relationship is very Dickensian, which is a very fun word, because Basie and Jim's relationship is modeled after Fagin and Oliver is Oliver Twist, which was the book that Celie was reading throughout The Color Purple. It's funny because we were talking about this, how he always takes all these Disney influences, and there's always some sort of Disney movie that's involved. A year after this movie came out is when they did their Oliver and Twist adaptation, which is Oliver and Company. So I thought that was pretty fun. I've never read Oliver Twist.
Me either.
I watch Oliver and Company. It actually would be pretty close if Oliver and Company is like the book Oliver Twist. This is becoming like a game of telephone of like a friend and a friend and a friend told me.
You always get it wrong.
Somebody that is young, impressionable, pure, naive gets taken under the wing of somebody who has gone through life, who's become, in the eyes of the person, somebody that's like really suave, confident, able to do anything, takes him under his wing and starts teaching him less than savory techniques to get by.
Yeah.
I mean, usually this ends poorly for the person that is the suave, confident person, but it didn't really end poorly for Basie this time.
Yeah, I totally see that. Tell me more about the tale of Icarus.
So this is something that I was thinking about, and it's mainly because of the whole flight aspect of it,
Okay.
is that he and so the main reason why is because this internment camp was outside that airbase.
Mm.
The sun is the planes.
Okay.
So he was always so close to the planes. He flew so close to the sun, his sun. Now this took a really interesting turn because I just realized that the Japanese is the land of the rising sun,
Oh,
and
it sure
they
is.
have the flag as
Wow.
yeah. So for him, and if you think about it, his fascination with planes is what burns him throughout the entire movie. He loses his plane toy when he's in the crowd, and that's how he loses his mother. And
Yep.
then he's by himself. The housekeeper that could have helped him betrayed him because he burned her plane.
Yep.
He went and investigated that plane and found that trench full of Japanese soldiers, which was a
Yes.
very scary scene.
It was.
And he finally gets to be near a plane, and that's when his friend, the Japanese pilot, is
Yeah.
killed, and
Oh.
that's when he loses his innocence. So
Yeah.
to me, like, the plane is the sun and he is Icarus, and he's always trying to get closer and closer and closer to it, and every time it ends up hurting him more and more.
I love that analogy. Love that story. So I was curious how you connected it, but I see now. Very cool. So let's talk about our buddy, Basie. When he first meets Basie, he's like, would you say he's silently stealing from him?
He's just casually robbing him. Like, I don't know if I've never had a conversation with somebody where they're just going through my pockets while it
Yeah.
happens.
And looking in your mouth for
To make
gold
sure,
teeth.
yeah, it's like your teeth are good. This is nice. Like it was interesting because I mean, obviously he first meets Frank, and Frank helps him after he gets mugged for his shoes, which became a big thing. He didn't wear shoes for like the rest of the movie practically, and then Frank takes him to Basie, and they're hiding out in this, I think it's like a sunken warship or something, some sort of sunken ship. Jim is just happy that somebody's finally talking to him because he spent that whole time trying to surrender to people and nobody was listening to him.
No.
Somebody actually had a conversation with him and he just glomped on them. And then he also fed him. Like Jim was like a stray cat that he just fed and never went away.
That's true. That is so true. So then you mentioned Frank. So Frank, we love Joey Pants. Joey
Joe Pantoliano.
Pantoliano. See, I only know him as Joey Pants. I'm sorry.
Because it's a hard last name.
I know it is. I'm sorry. I feel your pain. But yeah, he just seemed like, I don't know. He was just as far as sidekicks, he just didn't have a lot going on.
Yeah, other than that first scene where he saves Jim,
Yeah.
there's not really a notable thing that happens with him that I can think of. Honestly, when they all got taken to the internment camp, we didn't see him for a while. I
Yeah.
thought he just didn't show up because when they were in that weird little halfway house place before they got taken to the camp, he wasn't there at all. So I really just genuinely thought he was just, maybe they had killed him, maybe he just went somewhere else, and then he just popped back up again later on without any words.
I think the only really good thing about him was when Basie had left after promising to take Jim. And he's just like, he's gone, man. That's it. He was heartbroken. I mean, Frank,
I mean, we don't know their relationship from beforehand, but you can tell that they had been together a long time, like working these jobs and surviving together. So to be left behind without any reasoning, like there's no explanation why he left Frank behind. There's things that we can pick up on, like he had a cane, so maybe he couldn't make the journey because they had to crawl through, the mud and everything. Or just knowing Basie, he just, he cuts people and he runs. So
yeah,
it
he's
could have
very
been Frank
transactional.
Frank didn't have anything else of value for him.
Yeah.
As opposed to Dainty, who I think he was like a soldier, or
I don't know. He had the haircut.
he had the
I don't know
haircut.
what
Ye-
was going on with him.
Yeah, but or maybe it's just because he was younger and
Yeah.
spry, so he still was able to have some sort of benefit to Basie, and that's why they're the two that ran away.
Yeah. Because I guess by then, Jim's usefulness, wasn't necessary at that point. He was real useful in the camp because he used to trade for everything.
hmm
Very smooth, by the way.
Yeah, he
Um,
became a real smooth operator.
But I guess taking him, I was hurt that he didn't take Jim with him. But, like you said, that's how we operate. So,
I wasn't surprised that I was surprised he stuck around as long as he did.
yeah, true.
Especially after he lost everything when he got beaten by the commander.
So
I-
those events, I think, were very rapid fire. Jim was doing the whole army crawling through
Mhm.
the mud and everything. I think that happened. And then, what was it? Nagata? Sergeant Nagata went and found all his stuff, right? And then beat him?
Yeah, it was at least a few days in between.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then they went to the hospital, or he
Mhm.
went to the hospital, and then they took all his
To
stuff.
not die, yeah, they
Yeah,
robbed him of everything,
yeah,
which you think would have made him not go with Dainty, so that was confusing.
there was.
Yeah.
But they didn't go into Dainty's usefulness or not.
He's just there, yeah, he was just there to make his one joke about
Yeah,
the Hershey bar.
yeah,
"You want a Hershey bar, kid?" "Yeah,
yes,
so do I."
yeah, okay.
Got him.
Yeah. So on the opposite side of Basie, we have Dr. Rollins, which he seems like we kind of talked about father figures or
Mhm.
substitute fathers. So he's the one that's trying to get him to do homework and,
He's
memorize
teaching him
poems.
everything.
Yeah. And just
He's
he's trying.
he's the one that helps him with the concept of death
Yeah.
when that patient dies, and he
Oh
thinks that
yeah.
he resuscitated her, but he has
Yeah.
to explain, "No, it's just how the human body works."
Yeah, that was sad.
He had to yeah, so he's a big part of this movie,
Yeah.
which was really surprising. I mean, Jim, he's the reason why, like, we see that Jim has really changed and thrown away his pride when he bows down to the commander, so that way he won't hurt the doctor and
Yeah.
breaks the windows and everything. Like,
Yeah.
he really Jim really cares about the doctor,
He does.
and he still comes through for him, which I really appreciate how much that he does seem to care about Jim.
Yeah. The parents were very, I don't know, typical 40s parents, I guess. They just kind of went along. The dad didn't seem to have much of a relationship with Jim. The mom, I guess she read to him. I don't know, he was talking about her and her dark hair and her reading to him or something.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you,
Yeah, they didn't show
those parents were
much.
nothing, so
No, no.
I will say that I did like the parents at the end
Yeah,
when they reunited with Jim.
yeah,
I saw something really interesting. So you know how Jim said that he forgot what his parents looked like,
yeah,
except for his mom's brown hair?
yeah.
I saw this thing that said that he removed her hat and felt her hair, and that's how he remembered that that was his mother.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I could see that.
yeah. Also, what a spooky scene, just all those kids
I know.
and the mothers are coming in. It felt really strange, like, I don't really know how to describe it, but it just it's
Yeah.
like, I don't know, it felt kinda like they were I don't know how
It
to
was like a cattle auction
kinda
almost.
yeah.
Let me go inspect the goods and see if I see one that I want.
It was yeah,
Yeah.
it was a very strange scene. Mm,
It should have been touching. It should have been, I don't know, I just didn't feel it.
I guess it's because I didn't care about the parents to begin with.
I guess not.
And if they had built, like, this really good relationship beforehand, and him and his dad had a couple moments here and
Mhm.
there, but honestly, he coulda just never met his parents again, and it wouldn't have impacted me
At all.
at all. Yeah, just
No.
he could've 'cause honestly, after this movie, you can't imagine him going back to regular life, so why would he
No.
go back with his parents?
I know. Maybe that's why it was kinda meh for me. I don't
Yeah.
know.
If anything, him going out and becoming his own man would have made more sense.
Definitely. So Sergeant Nagata, would you think he was kind of a father figure as well, or more of a captor?
I don't know about father figure because they didn't really hold any scenes except for Jim constantly apologizing to him.
Yeah.
I think he was complicated. He seemed like he wasn't fully comfortable with the role that he had
Okay.
being in charge of this camp.
Yeah.
It seemed like he felt like he had to follow his duty. That's why he like broke the windows of the medical office, even though he didn't want to. What do you call Jim? Like strange boy or something, or the boy that does strange things.
Yes.
He's paying attention to these people, and he still wants to treat them with a certain level of care, understanding the situation that they're in. But he also knows that he has to do what the military is telling him what to do, what Japan wants him to do. And so he's constantly at war with himself. And I at least for me, like I felt that from him. I truly did. I know we didn't see him again. I have a feeling that his story probably ended with seppuku.
I loved how he left, though. Remember he was standing on the train car, and
Oh yeah, he just
that
and
was
the
that
whole
was
people going,
that
oh
was
yeah,
baller.
we're pretty sure all those people died. By the way,
Yeah.
the ones that left the stadium that we
You
never
know,
see again, I'm pretty sure they're just gone.
they
Like
gotta be. They focus so much on, we gotta go up country or up the hill or whatever. Just, it had to have been. And the fact that Jim didn't go, he stayed with Mrs. Victor. So
it's true.
I agree with you. He was definitely complicated. So the kamikaze boy pilot, which is what he was listed at as an IMDb.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Back to what you were saying about Sergeant Nagata. I know that in the Japanese culture, honor is everything. He was so excited, the boy.
Yeah.
We kind of watched him grow up
Hmm.
during the war, and then he was finally ready to become the kamikaze pilot that they were training him to be. And they did, was the ceremony awesome?
The ceremony was really awesome. That
Yeah.
was really well done. Not sure.
I don't know
I
how
don't know how
culturally,
accurate it is, but
yeah.
like It was they put a lot of effort into honoring him before he went on to. If you're a kamikaze pilot, would probably be your only mission. They left him with like an honor and care, which I think was really interesting. And just to give some context on this relationship with Jim and him, he essentially is just like he was like Jim. He literally was playing with a plane and he threw it and it went over the fence of the camp and Jim returned it to him.
Yep.
And that's how they first made a connection. He's so innocent that when Jim snuck through the fence to look to see if there were any mines and carve out a path for Basie and Dainty later, he knows that Jim is there and he covers for him.
He does.
And like they have this relationship when they're doing that ritual,
Yeah.
Jim sings for
Yes.
him.
Yes.
It was, a really moving scene. They through these little interactions really build up this relationship to set you up for the end.
I know. And I was happy the plane didn't start when
Mhm.
he was going on his mission, and then sad because I know how much he wanted to complete his mission. Because
Yeah.
it's an honor thing. I don't know. I wish I had something like that to instill that
Mhm.
kind of honor. I really felt it when he was so upset that he couldn't get in the plane and go do his duty.
I think that this scene actually is helped by the fact that I watched Godzilla -1
Okay.
because, the guy in that, the main character, was a kamikaze pilot that didn't complete his mission. And remember the scorn that he received
Oh, yeah.
and how people treated him,
Yep.
like when he returned, like it was not a hero's welcome. It was a you failed in your duty, like instilled into me the importance of honor and the role of the kamikaze pilots in World War II in the Japanese culture.
Yeah.
And so seeing him be so upset about not being able to fulfill that role, I was able to understand it more because I watched that movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big deal. And that's something in Japan you don't even with the manga and anime that we watch. It's always about honor.
Yes, yeah.
So, understanding that and seeing how he reacted, honestly, I think that was the most emotional part of the film for me is when he lost it.
Yeah.
And then again when the war is over, Jim goes over there and he's trying to give him a melon or
A
something.
mango.
A mango.
He
Yeah.
gives him a mango, but he can't open it. So
Yeah.
he tries to cut it for him.
With his samurai sword.
Yeah, with the samurai sword, and then he gets shot. I want to say in the back,
Yeah,
which would be the most dishonorable way for him to
definitely.
go, which just shows like the difference between the way that Basie is as a great character versus this kid that is still pure and innocent. Yeah, I think that was definitely the emotional crux of the finale of the movie, more than Mrs. Victor passing away.
I didn't feel anything.
I didn't either. I saw this thing that said, "Oh, that role got cut down a lot."
Okay.
And so, like with Mrs. Victor, that was supposed to be kind of a mother stand-in, and they kind of take care of Jim. He's kind of able to take care of himself. They take him back when Basie leaves, which was a really good scene to be able to provide for him. Mr. Victor just disappears.
Mhm.
And then Mrs. Victor, she's been sick the entire time. This concentration camp, they've been in this for 3 years. In the stadium, when she passes, Jim sees the bombings in Japan, and he thinks that that's her soul flying into the sky,
Yeah.
which is supposed to signify, at least in Spielberg's words, the loss of innocence for Jim and for the world because they realize what humanity is capable of.
Definitely. That must have been a scary time.
So we're going to do story a little bit different this time. We're going to talk about just a few scenes that were really important to us in the journey of the story. So for this story, we want to talk about the privileged childhood in Shanghai that Jim has. One of the things about this movie that I didn't like was I had a hard time understanding the character's motivations. The privileged childhood in Shanghai, really, because Jim wanted to join the Japanese Air Force
Yes, he did.
and he is obsessed with Japanese planes. It was very confusing and kind of like tone deaf in a way. He wanted to join this group that is on the opposite side of his homeland. I guess it makes more sense if you think about the fact that he's never been to England. He had only, he's only lived in China, so he had a different viewpoint. But it was really hard because that kind of goes throughout the movie.
It does.
Him in Japan. It's hard for me to follow his journey because I was so confused on where he stood with his, his fascination with Japan. Made it weird for me to follow along. And so I was very mixed on that.
I was too.
And I guess that starts with this privileged childhood. I mean, because this kid is a menace.
See, he's horrible to his nanny, I guess.
Yeah, he sets her plane on fire for no reason.
Yeah.
He's obsessed with these planes, the Japanese Sen, right?
Mhm.
He's obsessed with it, which just gets him into all these situations where he's honestly putting people's lives in danger.
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite things about this is the beggar outside his house
Oh,
is
yeah.
always hitting the red can on the ground.
Yes.
When he first gets caught, and sent to the little that halfway house internment camp before getting sent to the camp. The British are hitting their pots and pans together the exact same way that that beggar was hitting the red tin on the ground. It was the same noise, showing the fall of luxury, showing how
Oh.
the British had fallen, and because now they went from looking down on the beggars that were on the streets to becoming the ones that are begging for food.
Yes, for sure, I see that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That was a good connection. So along with that privileged childhood is that party.
What's a party? Great Gatsby level party that they have. That was ridiculous. Obviously, the war's going on. These people think that they are untouchable. I think the opening said because of international law, they thought they were being protected in China,
Mm,
that they couldn't be touched by the war. Didn't look into all that, so I'm
no.
not sure how much that came into play. They all dress up in these gaudy costumes. Literally, somebody that's dressed like a French aristocrat,
Yes.
looking like down on all of the Chinese trying to get over to the safe zone, like the let them eat cake kind of moment.
That was horrible.
Jim is like a sultan.
Yes. He
Uh,
was
yeah, his mom was
a clown.
a clown, and his dad was a pirate. And there's these bright costumes, and it just contrasts with the drabness of the real world. They get to the party, and Jim just runs off,
Yeah.
even though like, what are you doing?
Yes.
He has to go follow his plane, his
Yeah.
glider, and he finds that crash plane, and he just hops in it.
Oh, yeah.
Picks up a pair of sunglasses
Mm.
and pretends like he's a fighter pilot and his glider is like an enemy plane. I think it's interesting is I know you notice this when he first interacts with the plane when he gets when he gets to the camp, but every time he's like touching a plane, things are kind of surreal. Like that
Mhm.
glider, remember how it just kept going around and around
Yeah.
in a very unrealistic way, like showing his imagination. Remember the beauty of the moment when he finds that plane and like
Yes.
the welding sparks make it seem like it's like fireworks and
Yes,
it's like
that's
that
true.
this beautiful moment. Like every time he's around a plane, at first is just very surreal until the end when he's with his friend and the plane is just it's a regular object.
Wow.
And so it's very very interesting. I actually really like that trench scene. I mean, and then he crests around the hill and all of a sudden there's this trench full of what we think are Japanese soldiers and they're just
Just there.
waiting, and his dad saves him because I'm wondering when they're going to be sent to this camp, and I thought this was the moment
Oh,
that
yeah.
he was separated from everybody. So it played on my expectations a little bit. They're just laughing at the kid because he's just as brightly colored.
Oh, yeah. But you know what? That happened to him a lot. When he tried to surrender, they all laughed at him.
I really liked the whole scene with the party
Yes.
and the trench. Like I think that was such a good way because one of the themes that we're going to talk a little bit more about is like the decay of luxury in this movie, and that is the contrast that they create between the wealthy society
Mm.
versus the reality of the world. This is what society is right now, so that way you can contrast it with what you'll see later.
Yeah, and it makes it sadder in that way. One of the words that I think Jim said was opulence. They definitely lived in opulence. I had misunderstood, I guess. I thought that he was an ambassador, the father, to China, but I guess that doesn't make sense. I don't know. I've seen other things where they're ambassadors and they have the house that's supposed to be like their home. But then Jim says that his dad owns a textile mill, so I'm not sure exactly what his dad actually did there, how they
I
ended up there.
I think it was just a factory owner.
So then he goes back home because
Mhm. His mom says that she'll meet him at home.
yes,
Yeah,
yes. So he goes back home and nobody's there.
except for the housekeeper. He
Yeah.
gets sweet justice.
Yes. Smacks him.
Yeah,
It
because
was beautiful.
essentially the Japanese have come through and claimed all the residences, and they were cleaning them out of all their any luxury that they had. He finds the housekeeper because he's looking for his mom. She's missing. He finds the housekeeper, and he's like, "Oh, hey!" And now she's not being paid by them, so she can actually treat him the way he deserves, and she smacks him, which we were all very happy about
Yes, we
because
were.
he definitely deserved that
Yes,
just for the way he treated her. Because he was just rude to her at every turn, and he just was so arrogant, even though he literally had just lost everything.
it didn't hit him yet, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't
Yeah.
really understand the
No.
implications. He thought that his parents would come and he'd be safe. So I get why he still had that attitude.
Yeah.
I was just glad to see him get smacked.
Me too. You know, he had it coming.
And then yeah, he just tries to live at home. I think he says that he moved between houses, beginning of him learning to scavenge.
Yep. Then he meets Basie, and then we're in the halfway house, and then now we're at the internment camp. So the internment camp is it's horrible.
Yeah, they spend 3 years there. In that time, he learns the tricks of the trade essentially, and so he's running through that camp without shoes still.
Yeah.
And that's where they confront the basic human fears of illness, hunger, and death.
Yeah. I really think they all got dysentery.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he said that they would
Yeah.
because the only person that didn't was Basie because he only drank boiled water.
Which was smart.
Yeah.
Well, didn't Jim as well? Because he never got sick. I mean, he looked awful
I mean, probably. But
because, they didn't have nutritious food or whatever.
yeah, I
Was it
mean,
just potatoes?
it was sweet potatoes and rice.
Yeah. So
And remember he picked out those
the weevils.
weevils?
Let's eat the weevils because Dr. Rollins says it's protein.
That showed, like, how much he's changed.
Oh, God, yes. There's
'Cause
no way.
he was just separating them, and you're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, you gotta
You're not going to eat those.
still maintain a certain standard of food," which everybody's deserves a certain standard of food, but,
Of
like,
course.
in that situation, you're just like, "Oh, look at him, he still hasn't fully adapted," and then he's tracking them
I know.
as, like, I feel like maybe that was a homework assignment, but yeah, he ends up eating them, and that's kind of when I saw that, I realized he is fully acclimated to his new reality.
So, yeah, lots of people die. And when you saw the mosquito net coming at the hospital?
Well, you know what the mosquito net was, right?
What?
It was a veil of death.
Because I don't know that there was mosquitoes around.
But yeah, they put it over anybody
They really
that
did.
was about to pass away.
It was like their last little luxury.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit of relief in those last moments.
Yeah. And then, of course, the planes. We've been talking about the planes. He'll see the P-51 Mustang.
Cadillac of the sky.
Cadillac of the sky.
Yeah.
Do you remember who told him that?
His dad, I think.
His dad?
Yeah, I think it was his dad. Yeah, I mean, the planes are just littered throughout this entire movie. So
I mean, we like planes, so.
we saw the planes up in his bedroom.
Oh,
and
yes.
we're just like, that's my dad's childhood bedroom. It's just-
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Imagine what would happen if Jim had seen Top Gun.
Oh, my goodness. Yes. All right. So some themes that we ran into. Did you want to talk about the Lost Boys?
This is kind of a reverse of a theme that we talk about a lot during these movies, which is the absentee father. On the reverse of it, there are the Lost Boys. And somebody mentioned that in an article I was reading about Spielberg's Lost Boys, and I realized a lot of his characters, yes, they have absentee fathers, but they are lost.
Yeah.
I mean, Elliot for sure was a lost boy. He was lost on who he was supposed to be. Jim literally is a lost boy. I mean, he lost his parents for 3 years. He lost his identity. He lost everything about himself, and he had to try to figure out what that was. I don't know if he ever. So the thing about this movie that feels different than other Spielberg movies, I don't know if he found himself at the end.
I don't think so.
I think he stayed lost.
Yeah.
That was a big change from what I usually expect from Spielberg. Usually at the end they find themselves, or they discover that, their family is what matters. Insert whatever.
All the things.
Insert whatever, emotional linchpin at the end. But this one, I feel like they left it in a way where he stayed lost.
Yeah.
So he might be the ultimate lost boy as far as Spielberg's tropes go.
Would you include Barry from Close Encounters of the Third Kind in that? Too young?
I think probably too young.
Too young?
Because we don't know anything about
didn't.
Barry, yeah. If anything, I would say Keyes is more of a lost boy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, he felt lost because trying to prove all the aliens. And
True.
I mean, depending on what you consider like a lost boy, like Martin Brody,
Yeah.
he was lost after moving to Amity, Hooper,
yeah.
Quint.
Man,
People.
he is one smart guy. You know that?
He just knows what he likes and he knows what he feels, and he channels that into his movies.
But I just love uncovering. He's like an onion. When he returned home, I'm assuming it was talcum powder or makeup powder that was on the floor, and then you saw all the bare footprints
and the signs of struggle.
Yes.
We don't know what happened.
We
We don't know what happened to his parents during the war. We see them after the war when they pick him up, but we have no idea. Were they in a camp? Did they get out?
Well, they came back at least.
It was really striking the way they used the makeup powder for that scene.
Yeah, honestly, that was really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jim started the war, right?
I mean, yeah,
At the
with his flashing light. Who sees a warship in the harbor and it's like,
Ooh.
oh, they're communicating with somebody. Let me communicate with them back.
He just flashing his little flashlight.
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God.
I wish I knew Morse code. I don't know if that's what he was doing, but
He probably said, get wrecked, kids, or something. And they said, what the hell? All right, I know my instructions were to just stand by, but never mind.
This is going down.
We're taking down this country tonight on the suitcase thing.
The suitcase.
So I thought it was really interesting how he had that suitcase
Yeah.
throughout, and he finally threw it away
Yeah.
because it was dead weight.
Yeah.
It had all these articles and stuff in it, things that probably reminded him of home. And in the interest of survival, he had to ditch it when they were walking from the camp. I thought that was really interesting. And then don't we see it again in like the harbor, just floating there, not to be picked up by anybody. Nope. It's just there.
Just there.
Showing that his I don't know, it's probably something about earthly attachments or something.
Yeah. Maybe it's thinking about it now, how it didn't sink. Maybe that represents hope.
Maybe.
Maybe one day somebody will pick it up and get it back to him because it did have his name on it.
Maybe he never truly lost himself.
Maybe. I mean, that could go either way.
Yeah. Or just because was really buoyant, who knows? But we'll attach meaning to anything we can, so.
Absolutely. So buckle in, kids. So The Gone with the Wind mural
Mhm.
I love that movie. It's like 50 hours long. It's a parallel.
Is it?
Yeah, because it's the South, and the South was all about opulence and all of their traditions and things like that. And then the war
Uh,
starts,
okay,
and then it's all gone.
okay.
And Scarlett O'Hara, she grows up on a rich plantation, and then she goes hungry, and wow, just saying this out loud and making all the
Wow,
connections, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, there's more to it, but it's just seeing it, it was so big
It
and
was
so
huge.
colorful.
Yeah. It popped out to me, and I've never seen Gone with the Wind,
Yeah,
and even I was like, "There has to be some relevance to why that was just in our face so
yeah,
hard like that."
yeah. And I don't it came out in '39, I believe, 1939. So,
Okay. And
yeah,
I think it ran in theaters for a long time too.
yeah, probably. It had an
So,
intermission built in.
wow.
It still shows when you watch it. It comes up with a card, it says intermission.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know it's the undisputed highest grossing movie of all time, adjusted for inflation, so
Still, right?
it will never be beat because of the fact that it made so much money almost 100 years ago.
So I think that was the theme and symbols and character and story. Did you have
Uh,
anything else to add?
just to kind of close it out. So
Okay.
we talked a lot about loss of innocence. That was a big thing in this. It's honestly, you could choose multiple instances where
Yeah.
Jim lost his innocence outside of the bombing and the loss of Miss Victor, but that is just throughout this movie.
Yeah.
Is just him growing up and him changing his view on the world as he becomes more world wary, and he understands the complexities of the world instead of just big plane go boom kind of thing.
Yeah. Maybe we're thinking of innocence as losing it as one major thing. Maybe Spielberg was showing us that it's a chipping away, maybe.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah, because for me, before we talked about like the bombing and everything, that makes sense to me as the major point of
Mhm.
loss of innocence. When he was on the roof and the P-51s were flying by and
Yeah.
he had that breakdown, to me, that was his loss of innocence. So I'd be very curious if you talk to people, they may all have different moments that they remember where Jim has lost his innocence and he, has to grow up and face reality.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I think that could be really interesting. Another big thing for me is the decay of luxury. Stadium scene was really striking, especially with that arch statue that they had.
Yes.
Because I was like, what is that?
Yeah, that was weird. It just came out of nowhere.
And then just seeing everything that they took from those houses being in the stadium, literally seeing Jim's family car there,
Yeah.
seeing it rusted, seeing it damaged, like it shows how this society has fallen. Everything he's known has been lost, how the luxury that he took as granted is now gone. I thought that was really interesting that Mrs. Victor stayed there. She wanted to be in that opulence for one last time before she passed.
Yeah.
Even to the extent where she asked Jim to stay with her in her final moments, and he walks away from that opulence.
He does. He doesn't take any
He
of it
doesn't,
with him.
yeah,
I was surprised.
he doesn't slip a single necklace in his
Nope.
pants. Like for him, this is nothing to him now. It's like when you think about, like if you watch like a zombie movie, there'll be times where people will be like, or like a natural disaster movie, I'll pay you $3 million if you take me here. And they're like, dude, cash means nothing to us now.
Yeah.
When you're trying to survive, when you're trying to just live, things that at one point in your life might have been everything lose all their meaning. And that stadium is just a whole heap of loss of meaning for him.
Yeah, that's really profound. Jim Graham's Survival School. Rule number 1, trust no one. Rule number 2, what you got to trade. Rule number 3, if it flies, it's fly. Jim Graham's Survival School. No textbooks, just hideous golf shoes.
Now that we've talked on the screen, let's go behind the scenes with The Shark Is Not Working. So we always like to talk a little bit about casting when we first talk about behind the scenes. I know you had mentioned a connection with John Malkovich and a possible earlier Spielberg casting.
Yes, so when I was reading, because I was trying to find things about casting, because I like to see who they didn't cast, who turned it down, who they really wanted but didn't get. But I really couldn't find much.
Mhm.
So it sounds like it was just cast. They said, John Malkovich, I saw you in Places in the Heart, which I obviously need to see. I believe he got nominated. So John Malkovich was in Places in the Heart, and so was Danny Glover. So
Okay.
Danny Glover was cast for The Color Purple, and John Malkovich was cast. Exactly. You were telling me about Ben Stiller.
Yeah, so for some reason, Ben Stiller's in this movie. Very odd. 1987 Ben Stiller. I think this is like his second time in a movie. Both movies that he was in came out same year. One of his first big appearances, he was Dainty, who was a fellow captive in the camp, maybe a soldier, maybe a pilot. We're not really sure. They didn't go into it too much.
No.
Spielberg had seen him in a play, and he casted him He has one line, which is, "Hey kid, would you like a Hershey bar?" And then Jim says, "Yeah," and he says, "So would I." And that becomes a running joke. Like, I think they say like 3 or 4 times. Basie even gives him a Hershey's bar
At
when
the
they
end.
finally part at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
When they did the scene, Ben Stiller recalled that he said he was supposed to say his line. He screwed it up, said, "Would you like a chocolate bar instead of a Hershey bar?" And then he yelled cut, and there was a silence. Apparently, I didn't know this until the story. Only the director yells cut because it costs a lot of money to reset the scene and everything. They were the ones that make the call. Once he said that, Spielberg's like, "What?" And he said, Ben Stiller was like, "I'm sorry, I screwed up my line." And Spielberg yelled at him saying, "You never yell cut." So they had a tenuous interaction in this movie. But that's actually not the most interesting part of this. Apparently, in war movies, a lot of directors, Spielberg included, send their actors to a fake boot camp where they kind of learn what it's like to be a soldier, so that way they can channel that energy for when they play the characters. He did it for Saving Private Ryan and Band of Brothers. Ben Stiller's experience doing that for this movie inspired him to write and direct Tropic Thunder in 2008. And the whole crux of that movie is they go on one of these boot camps, and that's when it goes wrong. That was all because of his experience in this movie. So I thought that was an awesome detail to learn
Yeah.
for a movie that a lot of people really enjoy because of the way it parodies war films and just method acting and things like that. Ben Stiller and Spielberg are on like good terms now, but it'd be really funny if this whole time like he did Tropic Thunder as this kind of a petty like, "Remember when you put me through in this movie?
Yeah.
I'm gonna make you see on the big screen how much of a joke this is."
I don't think I've seen it, the Tropic Thunder. Did they have a director in it?
So Steve Coogan plays the director. I'm trying to remember. It's been a
Yeah.
while since I watched Tropic Thunder. I would love to see if there's a scene
Yes.
where Ben Stiller's character yells cut and the
Yes.
director yells at him.
Yes.
I would love to know if there's a scene like that now.
I bet there is.
It probably is. I hope so, because he remembered this story for years to come, so
I
it
mean,
stuck
yeah.
with him.
Yeah. I don't know if we remember, but I believe Spielberg is married to Amy Irving still.
Yes, I
Right?
believe so.
Yeah.
They don't divorce until 89, so they're still
It's
together.
coming. So Amy Irving, who's still married to Steven Spielberg, the reason why they found Christian Bale was that he was working on a television series with Amy Irving and recommended him to Steven Spielberg. So he made his feature film debut. I also read that there were 4,000 kids that auditioned for this part.
Oh my God.
So, and then you were telling me the repercussion of being in that movie.
I think a lot of people know that being a child actor is not always as glamorous as we want it to be. Being the lead of a blockbuster film at the age of 12, 13. According to him, he almost quit acting because of this movie, because of the pressure that he felt. He ended up taking a lot of smaller roles after that. He pops up in Newsies in 1992. I'm sure he pops up in some other stuff, but it wasn't really until American Psycho
Oh, yeah.
in 2000, which was 13 years later,
He was great.
that he became a name people knew. Kind of didn't derail his career, but it definitely made him take a little bit of a sidestep on the path. And it wasn't until, he played Patrick Bateman. And then that's when things started happening for him. He was Batman, obviously.
Yes.
You know, he was in The Big Short, all these really big movies and becoming this method actor. And I hate to hear about childhood actors who have all that pressure on them, because I think that happened to Macaulay Culkin, Corey Feldman, and
River Phoenix.
River Phoenix, yeah. We'll play into next episode, with Last Crusade.
I can't even imagine, and that's a lot for a young kid to take on. My heart goes out to him.
And I do know a lot of people who sign on to this film, like Paul McGann, who was somebody that played the Doctor Who in the mid-90s. He had a big role, and apparently they got super cut down to the point where I didn't even notice him.
Yeah.
Miranda Richardson, who was Rita Skeeter in
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. She had her role cut down as Miss Victor. I think it's because they made that opening part so long before he actually goes to the camp, and they didn't need to. So now some production facts.
Woohoo! Production! This is where the goods are. So Kathleen Kennedy and Frank Marshall couldn't find an alternative to China. I don't know if you remember, but in
Temple of Doom?
Yes, Temple of Doom, they were not allowed to film in India.
India and China.
China. So they were already trying to find an alternative, because why go that route if we can find a Sri Lanka, right? But they said, you know what, it doesn't hurt to ask. So they approached the Chinese government and they said yes. This movie was known as the first Western production to be filmed in the People's Republic of China.
That's crazy. Yeah, so apparently I saw this short interview with the cinematographer, and he said Kathleen Kennedy brought the Chinese government to London and convinced them to actually allow them to be able to shoot in Shanghai. They were only given 21 days. and most of that time was used for the big scene where they're all trying to escape. Loses his mother. That's where most of the days went because of such a huge sequence.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, they actually were able to convince them, which I think was really cool. For Temple of Doom, they couldn't ride. I mean, this is different than riding a motorcycle on the Great Wall of China.
Of course.
So I understand them being more open to it.
So the Chinese government let them shoot for 21 days, as you said. I read that there was 5,000 Chinese extras that were used for those big.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They had a lot of people on there, so that makes sense.
It kind of went awry, but Spielberg didn't care. He just went with it because I guess the people went out of the camera line or whatever you call it. They weren't where they're supposed to be. They just kind of went everywhere.
Wasn't that supposed to work in a scene like that?
I'm guessing Spielberg had a vision, but
I'd say people just run.
just go for
just
it.
move.
But he liked it, so
Hey, yeah,
they kept it.
that's authenticity.
So back to our planes. Tell us about the Mustang scene.
Yeah, so the P-51 Mustang scene, if you remember, is at the camp is when they're bombing the airfield. So
Yes.
when Jim runs up to the roof and the doctor's trying to get him to come down because it's dangerous, proving to be, the angel that is trying to make sure to guide him to safety. And they only had one time to shoot. They only had one shot of this. And Spielberg had it all planned out. But Christian Bale got overwhelmed and he wasn't able to emote as much as Spielberg wanted to because it's supposed to be a long tracking shot.
Right.
So since it was going to be the plane and Jim and the scene, they needed to make sure that when that plane went overhead, Jim was giving the proper reactions and Christian Bale didn't. So Spielberg talked to him about it afterwards, kind of calmed him down, told him it's all right. And then they had to take some more footage that was more close-ups of Jim to intercut into there to be able to get the proper reaction he was hoping for.
Okay. Well, that's good because he was 13. So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's a lot of pressure right there.
That's a big scene because that's when he has that breakdown, and I think that's when he says he can't remember what his parents look like. He only remembers his mom's hair. So
Yeah. So actually, I'm glad that they intercut it. Is that what you called it? They intercut it because I hate when you're trying to figure out what people are doing from far away.
Yeah.
So I like the close-ups and
it's usually just them jumping in the air or something.
right. I mean, okay. So we always like to talk about the musical side of things. John Williams did compose the score for the movie. We were happy to see him back. One of the things I learned, the song in the very beginning that he was singing in the choir.
The church choir.
The church choir.
Before becoming an atheist.
Yes. I think he was already one, but, was called Suogan, and it's a Welsh lullaby. And he picked a Welsh lullaby because Christian Bale is from Wales.
That's a fun fact.
Yeah. All right. So we got some more miscellaneous facts here. So David Lean, he's the director of Lawrence of Arabia.
Okay.
So he was always his role model. So David Lean was a huge fan of Duel, and he expressed admiration for Steven's direction. He wanted to adapt this book to a movie.
Okay.
Spielberg and Lean were going to direct and produce it together, but Lean couldn't take Spielberg's little,
anachronisms?
Yes. And so, he kind of went away. But Spielberg he read the book and he said, honestly, I really just wanted to do it by myself, even though he thinks, thought the world of him. So, yeah, that was interesting. We mentioned the book. What can you tell us about the book?
Yeah, so the book it's by J.G. Ballard. I saw that he mainly writes sci-fi and horror.
Really?
So this was a kind of an odd duck of a novel for him. It's semi-autobiographical, so mirrors a lot of his own experiences. A big writer named Tom Stoppard wrote the initial screenplay, and he was the son of an Ashkenazi Jewish family in Czechoslovakia who fled the Nazis and spent time in Singapore during the Japanese occupation, which is actually interesting because I kept talking about fleeing to Singapore.
Yeah.
So the fact that Japan occupied Singapore just makes us realize they truly didn't understand what it meant to get away from the war.
No.
So that's an interesting aside. But yeah, I know that he wrote this and seems like he was probably able to draw on some of his own experiences as well. And I think Spielberg also was able to draw on some of his own.
He had an ancestor named Rebecca Chechnik who had immigrated to Shanghai to escape the persecution of the Jewish people in the Ukraine and native Russia. So Steven, being 40, he has a kid named Max, and he's married. He basically wanted to perform an exorcism of the celebration of his naivete in favor of more serious subject matter. Basically, we know him as the blockbusters, the movies for air quotes for kids. So he really wanted to grow, which he started to do with The Color Purple. And so that's why he continued to do this. And I really think in my heart of hearts that he was trying to make amends for 1941.
Yeah.
By doing this movie.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Showing people look, this is what I can do. Like, I understand the significance of the war and the impact it had on people. I know you saw this dumb comedy that I did.
Yeah.
I've
But
changed since then.
yeah,
You gotta believe me.
absolutely.
8 years could change somebody. Yeah. And I agree with that because, I mean, I think about his next films, like Last Crusade is kind of a outlier, but I don't know anything about Always, but I know it's like a Ghost Dad or something. And then Hook, I believe, is supposed to be like Peter Pan growing up. So that's even more of a direct translation to Spielberg trying to grow up as a director. I know we've talked about how The Color Purple was his turning point. Now we're talking about it being this one.
I
I think
mean,
it's just this period of time.
yeah.
It's just where he's really showing a different side of himself that he's going to start embracing more as we go on in his career.
I really hate that word exorcism because it sounds like it needs to be removed, but we wouldn't have latched onto him as such a great director had he not started there.
Yeah.
If he had started with this heavy material, I don't know if we would have latched onto him like we did before.
Yeah.
You
This is
know,
more of his cocoon phase.
Cocoon, yes,
And
yes.
then he starts to become the beautiful butterfly.
Yes, yes. I know we talked about a lot of people didn't care for this movie, but you were saying something about it being his magnum opus.
Yeah, so Spielberg feels that this movie is his magnum opus. It's been overshadowed by a lot of his other work. Obviously, Jurassic Park, Jaws, Schindler's List. But for him, this movie truly meant something. He really felt that what he was able to do with this film really brought out everything, the best that he had, which I think is an interesting take. And also just a reminder that even the film creators look at their films differently than you do, because for him, this movie is everything. Obviously, it wasn't like a big success of a movie, but I bet you even though this movie didn't make a lot of money, he's still very proud and happy that he was able to create it.
I mean, it's a different point of view. I
Mhm.
always celebrate a different point of view.
Yeah.
Huh, interesting.
Hey, Lostners. This is the Lost Boys of Spielberg podcast. Just reminding you to come check us out. We're, if you don't know, a meta Spielberg podcast about the protagonists of his movies. In our next episode, we're going to be talking about the one where the kid doesn't go home.
I'm going to check that one out.
All right, we've talked story, we've talked production. Now let's go ahead and talk about the money and milestones in our Sandcastles in the Sand segment. So first thing first, we're going to talk box office numbers.
Show me the money.
Show me the money. Empire of the Sun budget was about $25 million, and its worldwide gross is $66.7 million. Not 100% sure when it did the international release because it was considered a flop at the US box office because of it only earned $22 million. It eventually went on to make more, based off foreign markets, home video and television. So hard to say. But yeah, this movie, even though he really loved it, it unfortunately didn't translate to box office success. We try to talk about a little bit what's coming out around that time. So for the domestic box office for December of 1987, like we said, did release at Christmas. Strange time for it. The number one domestically was Three Men and a Baby. Then you had other movies, Plane, Trains, and Automobiles, the Wall Street movie, actually the Cinderella re-release movie.
Wow.
Yeah. The Running Man, Broadcast News, Overboard. Empire of the Sun was actually 13th ranked in the domestic box office for December. Very interesting. Haven't watched a lot of these movies, but yeah, they were all a little bit higher than Empire of the Sun. Right below it was The Princess Bride, which I would say is much beloved now. But I know it didn't make a lot when it first came out. But yeah, so taking the $66.7 million into account, that means that it made roughly $15 more million than budget and marketing.
Yeah.
If we do the usual math, not a terribly successful movie, but it at least recouped its budget and made some headway as far as finances go.
I don't know if I would consider it a blockbuster.
Yeah, true. It's more of a, what do they call them at AMC now? Artisan films, which is, I mean, that's an era we're heading towards with Spielberg where he starts doing more artisan films. Granted, that's more like late 2000s and later than that, but this was one of his first forays. Empire of the Sun was nominated for 6 Academy Awards. Best Original Score, Sound, Art Direction, Cinematography, Costume Design, and Film Editing. It unfortunately did not win a single one. Interestingly enough, this movie did release within months of another coming-of-age film set in China during the early to mid 20th century, The Last Emperor, and it lost all of its Academy Award nominations to The Last Emperor, which I thought was very interesting. All right, and Mom, why don't you go ahead and tell us the critic reviews?
The critic reviews. So, of course, we had to see what Miss Pauline Kael said, because we've been following her and Spielberg's career. So, Pauline Kael loved the first 45 minutes, but said, quote, first in brief patches and then in longer ones, his directing goes terribly wrong. And there was, of course, more to the review, but so that was her part of her review, which is She just kind of goes all over the place.
Yeah, seems like
Yeah.
it's mixed.
And then Roger Ebert, he said Empire of the Sun adds up to a promising idea, a carefully observed production, and some interesting performances. But despite the emotional potential in the story didn't much move me, maybe, like the kid, I decided that no world where you can play with airplanes can be all that bad. So that was kind of
Seems definitely mixed, but maybe more
more on the
positive.
positive.
Yeah, at least in spirit.
And then our favorite Rotten Tomatoes, it got a 77% on the tomato meter and an 88% on the popcorn meter. But I read a lot that people came around to it later.
Yeah, they say that this is Spielberg's like hidden masterpiece, which for me is not true. But if they
Maybe
got
if we
something
go
out,
back.
maybe. I mean, honestly, who knows? It was a first time viewing. Things can change with subsequent viewings. We don't know.
All right, so time for your review.
For my Letterboxd review, I'm going to give it 3 stars out of 5. I'll say a stronger 3 after we talked about it than before we talked about it. We always reinforce movies when we discuss and we start making those connections and kind of enhancing the material. So 3 stars, and and for my review, it's watching Jim walk up to that plane reminded me of a welding school commercial.
Yes, it did. Oh my god, that's Flashdance. You
Oh
haven't seen
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I know the whole like the
Yeah.
steel mill and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's funny.
Maybe Spielberg saw the Flashdance and he's
Oh
like,
my
that the
goodness.
welding sparks. There's
Yes.
something there.
That was such a beautiful shot. Loved it.
All right, and next is going to be our rankings. So, Mom, why don't you go ahead and kick it off?
Well, big surprise, E.T. is still number 1.
What?
Then Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, Jaws, The Color Purple, Duel, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, The Sugarland Express, Empire of the Sun, and 1941. We were just remarking how interesting it is that they're both at the bottom.
Yeah, you would think that Sugarland would be like the lowest because
Right?
it's one of his first films. There
I
wasn't a whole
know.
lot to it, but there was something there.
There was.
Yeah, and also we were new.
Yes, we were new, but I still maintain that Sugarland Express was a good movie.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
I agree. It's
Yeah.
just funny. That and Duel is just like, okay. So for me, it's Jaws, Raiders, E.T., The Color Purple, Duel, Temple of Doom, Close Encounters, Sugarland, and then like Mom, I put Empire of the Sun second to last with 1941. He had so many standout ones this early on. So we'll see how after this next one with Last Crusade, most likely be pretty high, but like after that, we'll see what we start getting into the shuffle with some of the movie options that we have. So I'm looking forward to that.
That's the best part about this.
Yeah, true. Movies that I never thought I would watch. I
Yeah.
mean, I never didn't know this movie existed, and I've now experienced it. I'm glad I saw it. That's what I like about this is that there's movies that I mean, The Color Purple, I would never have gone out of the way to see, and I really enjoyed that movie, and I learned a lot from it. So I appreciate that we get to go through this journey. And don't forget to leave us a review, a 5-star review on your podcast player of choice. If you do, we'll go ahead and read it on the air. And if you are watching this on YouTube, please give a like, comment, or subscribe. Tell your friends about this podcast. We do put a lot of work into it and we have a lot of fun with it. So we want you to listen to it and we want everybody around you to listen to it. So
Absolutely. It's so much fun.
please tell them because they want to come in here before we do the Jurassic Park episode because that one's going to be
Ooh, off the chain.
it's going to be a lot. So yeah, please tell people about it. We really appreciate it. And we appreciate you just for listening.
We do. We really appreciate you, and we appreciate you going on this adventure with us.
Yes, it's been a wild ride and we're not even out of the 80s yet.
Nope.
But as always, I will leave you with our outro quote from Spielberg. Through amazing stories and unforgettable characters, we are introduced to those incredible worlds we only dare imagine, and in the process, we discover ourselves. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back with Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade. This is Tyler signing off.
And this is Crystal, and don't forget to notice the purple.